Establishment of interim government. As we have seen now, Britishers are not paying much attention for the India's development or progress, since they are very much involved in the Second World War, and after the war they had faces a huge loss. So they are just trying to giving to hand over the responsibility of India to the Indian leaders. In this way, they have already created a rift between the Hindus and Muslim. To run away from this situation, they had tried to make a interim government and handed over the responsibility to the Indian leaders. What is the establishment of interim government? While the blaze of violence, we had seen the violence that created by Hindus and Muslims everywhere in the country, Viceroy Wevel established the interim government, and Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was head of this government. What do interim mean? Interim means a kind of temporary government. The Muslim League initially denied to participate in the interim government. As we had seen, the thoughts between the Hindus and Muslims had now differ. So Muslim League never supported the thoughts of the Indian National Congress leaders, and they are not in a favor of the interim government. So in the initial period, at the beginning, they denied to support the interim government, but later they joined the interim government, but they didn't give their complete support. They always created the problem with the Congress leaders. The Muslim League initially denied to participate in the interim government, but later participated in it. But since the leaders of Muslim League adopted the policy of obstruction, what are obstruction? Creating problems or hurdles. Hence, the interim government could not work smoothly, and so in this way, interim government won't able to work as smoothly. Mountbatten Plan. As we all know, our last viceroy was Lord Mountbatten. He was such a good person. He tried to bring uniformity in India, and he tried every way to create a proper transition of independence to Indians. England's Prime Minister Attlee had announced that England would leave its dominion. Dominion means control on India before June 1948. So it was decided by the British Parliament that British or England would leave India before June 1948, and the control are given to the Indian leaders, and the princely states were handed to the princely rulers. On the background of transfer of power in India, Lord Mountbatten was appointed as Viceroy of India, and he was considered the last Viceroy of our nation. Mountbatten held discussions with prominent leaders of India. Prominent means important leaders of India. Therefore, he prepared a plan of creation of India and Pakistan as two independent nations. Lord Mountbatten convinced the leaders of both Indian National Congress and Muslim League, seeing the situation of nations since the violence has erupted everywhere. He convinced the leaders that there should be a solution, that the two nations should get separated, and therefore he prepared a plan of creation of India and Pakistan as two independent nations. Indian National Congress opposed the plan of partition. Unity of the nation was the basic stand of Indian National Congress, but the Muslim League remained adamant on the creation of Pakistan. As we had seen that Indian National Congress has always a thought of secularism, unity, strength, but the Muslim League was adamant. They had only thought for the separate nation. So at last, Indian National Congress had decided for the, or they agreed for the partition. National Congress was left with no option but to accept the decision of partition with complete helplessness. So seeing the situation, seeing the violence in nation, Indian National Congress agreed for the India's partition, and at that time our country was divided into three different parts. As we all know, India, as we know, but the two different parts were the East Pakistan and West Pakistan. So the West Pakistan was later named as Pakistan, and East Pakistan was later named as Bangladesh. And we all know the East Pakistan was the same territory that was partitioned by the Britishers, called East Bengal. So in this way, the seeds of enemy was set forth by the Britishers in our country between Hindus and Muslims. So Britishers passed an act called Indian Independence Act. In this act, they had mentioned the transition, or how can be the power transfer will be done. On 18th July 1947, On the basis of Mountbatten Plan, the Indian Independence Act was passed in British Parliament. As we all know, the responsibility was given to the Lord Mountbatten, and he tried all the way to make it smooth to the transfer of power to the Indians. On 15th of August 1947, the two independent nations, India and Pakistan, will come into existence has been announced. Thereafter, the British Parliament will not have any control over them. So it was decided in the British Parliament, and the declaration has been set forth that on 15th of August 1947, these two nations will get their independence, and henceforth Britishers will don't have any kind of control over this territory. The British supremacy over the princely states will also come to an end. Even the princely states will also hand to the rulers of princely states. The law provided them the right to either join India or Pakistan or remain independent. The choice given to the princely states that they either join Pakistan or either join India or they either remain independent. So this choice was completely kept with them. So finally, India gains independence, and we had seen a long journey, a long struggle done by our leaders, revolutionaries, farmers, laborers, women, from every part. We had seen the people had shown their interest for the nation's independence. As per the Indian Independence Act, India was granted independence on 15th of August 1947. A meeting of the Constituent Assembly was going to on in the Hall of Parliament House in Delhi in the midnight of 14th of August. So a meeting has been called of in the Legislative Assembly on the midnight of 14th August 1947, and at the stroke of midnight. What is stroke of midnight? As the time changes to the 12 midnight, the new day arises, and India declared as an independent country. So at the stroke of midnight, our India's independence came to an end. The Union Jack of Britain was lowered. Union Jack, as we all know, British flag is called as a Union Jack. The Union Jack of Britain was lowered, and in the place the Indian tricolor flag was unfurled. And as we removed the flag of Britishers and we unfurled our tricolor, India attained independence after the 150 years of slavery. So we had seen a rigorous journey of our independence. The joy of attainment of freedom was not untinted. So we had a happiness of freedom, but again there was a kind of sorrow all over the nation because of the partition, and the effect of partition was seen more in the region of Punjab and Bengal. As we all know, the East Bengal that has been detached from our Bengal portion, it turns to the East Pakistan, and the West Pakistan that detached from our Punjab is called as the Pakistan. And that regions had a great violence, and that created a problem throughout the nation. Indian people were grieved. Grieved means sorrow. They were not happy due to the partition of country and the terrible violence during that period. Instead of joining the celebration of independence, Gandhiji was striving hard in Bengal. As we know, Gandhiji went to Naukhali region to communicate with the people, to give them the message of unity. And even at the time of Independence Day celebration that happened at the Red Fort during the process on 15th of August 1947, at that time Gandhiji was not present there. He was at West Bengal trying to communicate with the people and trying to manage the critical situation to a normal situation. And within 6 months of attainment of freedom of India, Gandhiji was brutally assassinated. What do you assassinated? Killed. As we all know, Gandhiji, we got independence in August 1947, and Gandhiji was killed in within 6 months of our independence. So in this way, he not even feel the joy of independence. Gandhiji was brutally assassinated by Nathuram Godse on 30th January 1948. Gandhiji strove day and night to preserve. So they worked hard day and night to preserve Hindu-Muslim unity and laid down his life for the same. We had seen Gandhiji always worked for the unity of our nation, and even for our country he sacrificed his life. So in this way we had came through a long journey of India's freedom struggle. So let's begin with the exercise. Dash was the head of the interim government. Who was the head of the interim government? Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. The plan of creation of two independent nation, India and Pakistan, was made by Lord Mountbatten. Right? Okay. Now we had the question and answers in one sentences. So which demand was advocated or supported by Barrister Jinnah? If you remember, the Barrister Jinnah advocated the demand of a separate Islamic country named Pakistan. Right? Write the names of the ministers participating cabinet missions. If you remember the names, they are the Patrick Lawrence, Sir A.V. Alexander, Stafford Cripps, right? These were the important members that they formed the cabinet mission. Give the reasons. The Indian National Congress approved the partition. Seeing the situation of country, the violence everywhere in the nation, and they were helpless to stop such kind of agitations between Hindus and Muslim and the rights. So they agreed for the partition of our nation. The working of interim government could not run smoothly, as we had seen Muslim League not supported the interim government. Initially they joined, but later they created obstructions or hurdles to the interim government. That's why interim government wouldn't work successfully. The Wavell plan could not become successful. As we had seen, there are so many provisions that are not agreed by the Indian leaders or the Indian Congress leaders, and even the Muslim League not satisfied with the Wavell plan, because there was not any plan for the separation of a Muslim nation. Right. So these were the problems that arises at that time. Here we had given a timeline. The different events happened in the different year. If you say in the year 1945, we had the Wavell plan. In 1946, we had seen the Direct Action Day. In 1947, we attained independence. In 1948, we had seen Gandhi ji was brutally assassinated. So these were the important timelines that happened in this year. Why did the British took step towards granting freedom to India? As we had seen after the Second World War, the Britishers faced a loss of life and property, and they are not much capable to rule over India. And also we had seen the agitation among the Indians had gotten more intense. Seeing the situation, Britishers realized that it was not possible for them to control much on Indians. Why write information about Mountbatten plan? As we had seen, Lord Mountbatten make the power transfer very smoothly, and even he convinced the Indian National Congress leaders about the partition of India and Pakistan, and also got approved the Indian Independence Act in the British Parliament. Why did Muslim League declare to observe 16th August as Direct Action Day? Because since the demand of a separate nation was not getting fulfilled, so Muslim League, the leaders of Muslim League, decided for the Direct Action Day on 16th of August, and their effect was very serious. We had seen a nationwide riot, and the bloodshed happens everywhere. And the most important, we had seen a problem arises at Bengal at an Aukhali region. Understood? So idea is clear what happens during that time and how we get independent. So it was a very interesting journey, and we came through a long way to know our leaders and to know our freedom struggle. Okay, so please go through the chapter and understand, and hope you get knowledge of all the important events and struggle.